How's it going, everyone? This is my quick guide to useful skill inheritance that can help you understand the value of Emblem skill inheritance, how it works, and what cost-effective skills you can start inheriting now for a better gameplay experience. A big hang-up that people have is not being sure when to invest, as SP is a tough resource to pile up. It's a very understandable concern to have, but I hope with this guide on the more useful and applicable skills to inherit, one's concerns may be lifted. This guide will attempt to provide clarity and use cases for each skill, and if such a case applies to one of your units, perhaps it will help you decide where to spend your hard-earned SP. SP inheritance is pretty expensive. If you look at the inheritance menu, a lot of advanced stuff is upwards between 2,000 to 3,000 SP. These are in a way broken up into two types. One type are the standalone expensive one-off skills like Ike's Wrath, which costs 2,000 SP. The others are the numbered skills like Defense from Ike. Defense 5 in the menu costs 2,000 SP, but the way it works is that the price of these skills go down if you purchase its preceding skill, by the amount of the preceding skill. Grinding SP definitely has its own set of issues too. It's difficult and long to grind SP, especially for units who do not have an emblem ring equipped, and especially so with early game units who start with very low SP compared to later recruits. The process takes much longer, and while bond rings do help with the grind a little bit, it's still going to take a long time before you can start inheriting premium skills. Thankfully, there are some cost-effective skills to inherit that will immediately provide use. Cost-effective, meaning it is good value for the amount it costs. These aren't cheap per se, as some are more expensive than others, and early game units will struggle to acquire them as their base SP is low, but they're cost-effective in that their immediate usefulness makes their relatively higher cost worth saving for. So in today's guide, we are going to look at cheap and cost-effective skills that you can inherit that will immediately make a difference in your playthrough. For experienced Engage players, a word of warning. This guide isn't terribly concerned with the skill combinations aspect of the game yet. You won't find discussion like Stack Vantage and Wrath together. There will inevitably be skill combinations and skills that one may use, but is not mentioned here. If you end up watching this and go, but what about X skill? Then it may be something I think is too niche or not cost effective enough to warrant being listed, even as an honorable mention. But I'm only one perspective playing the game, so different playstyles and experiences can clash in videos like these, so just please, if that ends up being you, be cool about it in the comments. Now then, let's talk about skills. Canter. Canter is a 1000 SP skill inherited from Sigurd. While the most expensive skill on the list today, it is very cost effective. This allows a unit to move 2 spaces after attacking, but beware, trading does not count as an action. This basically means attacking, staff using, or dancing. This is an amazing skill for high offense turns where you want to hit and run as often as you can, deal damage, and leave 2 tiles away for another unit to do the same thing. But there are other applications besides attacking. You can use Canter on a staff unit or sea doll, reach your max movement range, heal or dance, and then proceed to move 2 more spaces forward. Canter is an incredibly versatile skill that will make many chapters easier by giving anyone with it extra options after they act. It is arguably the most cost-effective skill in the game and is upgradable, and you should definitely consider saving for it. I currently use Canter at base with Sidal, Jean, Chloe, and Fogato. Advance. Advance is a 500 SP skill from Roy that moves the user 1 space toward a foe that is 2 spaces away to attack. This is very good for infantry units stuck at 4 to 5 move, especially if they're in a class that is sword locked like Lear and don't usually have many ranged options. It does as advertised, closes the gap between the unit and the enemy by 1 tile to attack anyway. I can't tell you how often I've been infuriated at the 4 movement only to be pleasantly surprised that advance can trigger and I can attack regardless. You kind of forget it's there until you absolutely need this skill and it comes through. It is not much of a presence as, say, Canto, but it's relatively cheap cost and guarantee of maybe dealing damage if you hit when you otherwise couldn't definitely is worthy of your consideration. I have yet to take it off Lear. Speed. First things first, there are some raw stat skills like Speed from Lyn that are, in my opinion, more worthwhile than other raw stat skills. Speed is one of the most important skills in the game due to the amount of things Speed contributes to. It plays a major role in determining if you are getting doubled or not, if you will double or not, and it helps with avoiding enemy hits. A seemingly marginal +2 or +3 can actually have big implications, as it can be the determining factor if you can double or not be doubled in a round of combat. This is made even more important in the early game, where low stat distribution makes things like +2 or +3 more impactful. Other raw stat skills in comparison technically do the same thing for their raw stats, but in my opinion, Speed stands out a little more as Speed determines quite a bit. I would also consider Res and HP as uniquely good ideas here too. Favorite food. Celica's favorite food skill is a surprisingly useful and cheap 200 SP skill which immediately fills the engage meter after eating a packed lunch. Packed lunches are given every time a cafe meal is made. This ability acts as a portable engage refill tile and in practice can immediately charge up an engage meter right after spending one. I like using this with Ike and Jade as a general. Generals are stuck with 4 move, and instead about worrying about getting Jade to a meter refill tile, having a packed lunch on hand can mean another great Aether is ready for her to continue to do her job easier. It's also useful on units like Celica 2 for 2 Warp Ragnaroks. Of course, a skill like this can only be made useful for 1 unit per map, but it's always good to have in the back pocket, especially for an emblem pairing you like to use a lot. Reposition. Reposition is a 200 SP skill inherited from Ike. This is the only movement assist skill that is inheritable. Swap is a class skill for generals, and shove and drawback are locked behind bond rings. The reason why Reposition is such a great option to inherit is because number 1, Reposition is arguably the best assist skill of the 4. It's versatile and can work in all 4 directions instead of drawbacks working backwards and shoves forwards movement, and covers more tiles than swap. Additionally, in a game where the default movement is a incredibly frustrating 4 move, you have very limited options to help get around. This, in my opinion, boosts the value of Reposition even more, since its effect in a low movement environment is relatively stronger than usual. It's a steal that any unit can find beneficial to use for each other. Quality Time. Quality Time is a 250 SP skill inherited by Khorne, and it has 2 functions. 1, it heals 5 HP to adjacent allies if the unit waits, and 2, if the unit with this skill can support those adjacent allies, it gives them support points. It's the second effect that makes this skill worth a shot. Support grinding in this game, to be honest, is pretty freaking bad. There are very limited options in the Somniel to help boost support among allies not named Alir. Quality Time and Byleth's Lost and Found are 2 other good ways to support grind on the maps themselves. You can set up loops during skirmishes and in main story missions where you spend turns triggering Quality Time over and over again. For example, if you gave any Mystic or Alir Khorne and spammed Vein of Flames, you can position a unit with Quality Time in the middle of the 4 units you want to grind support points for and just hit wait. In the example shown, I'm using Alir to set the ground ablaze while Jade waits and heals units that she can support. If you have a regular team of 8 to 10 characters and some of them can support each other, I would suggest trying this out at the end of a map. It definitely is time consuming, but until the devs create another Somniel activity dedicated to support boosting allies not named Alir, it will have to do. Mentorship. At 250 SP from Byleth, Mentorship grants a 1.2 EXP modifier to the unit and adjacent allies. This one is very self-explanatory. You can inherit this for super cheap and start boosting your EXP rates and the rate of an adjacent ally by 20%. You can never go wrong with more EXP, especially on Maddening Mode where skirmishes are disabled. Arms Shield. Arms Shield Plus and Plus Plus reduce damage taken if the unit has a weapon triangle advantage by 3, 5, and 7 damage respectively. It's really solid when it works, but it is dependent on the enemies you are facing. That being said, some classes can make pretty good use of this. You can have armors double down against certain groups of the same unit type, or you can have Chi Adept users be able to reduce damage from magic and bows. And because of the usual Chi Adepts like From and Jean having high res, this can help them soak hits even more from mages. Now let's get into some honorable mentions. Hit plus 10. Hit plus 10 and plus 15 is a decent option to have to patch up lower than average hit on weapons. An axe user may benefit from more precision in this case, as axes can sometimes be annoying to try to bank hit rates on in the 70% range. Although you may be better off for finding and engraving an axe you like to save on SP, but it's worth a mention here. Build. Build plus 3 and Build plus 4 are relatively high SP skills from Leaf that simply increase a unit's build. This is decent as build is subtracted from weapon weight, and if there is a positive number at the end, that number reduces a unit's attack speed, and so increased build helps leverage attack speed. It's good, but mainly to wield specific high weight weapons without the cost of speed. The thing is, there are other ways to leverage weapon weight than investing into build, like forging and engraving. You're kind of balancing whether you want more build here, or you can simply inherit speed from Lin for a more universally good stat. But it definitely has its uses, as plus 3 and plus 4 are pretty big stat swings for a stat that doesn't often level up on its own. Tamara and Chloe have pretty painfully low build. Tamara is especially slow, as her PRF class, Picket, only gives her 1 more point of build. Giving her even build plus will bolster her build to 10 instead of 6, meaning she can wield steel, killer, and javelins without a penalty to her attack speed. Healing Light. At 200 SP, Healing Light heals the healer for 50% of the amount healed. It's pretty good, but serves a pretty nice niche to Chi Adepts because this lets them restore their HP to max after chain guarding. It's a rather niche application, but chain guarding is of course extremely useful. I would suggest taking advantage of this cheap one-off skill to make Fram and Jean's or any other Chi Adept's jobs easier. Divine Pulse. Divine Pulse is a cheap 250 and 500, which becomes 250, SP skill from Byleth that will turn a miss into a hit at 30% and 50% respectively, plus the unit's luck. While cheap and definitely useful to increase the chance of hitting an enemy by virtue of it converting a miss into a hit, you can only get Divine Pulse Plus in the mid to late game since the bond level required to inherit it is 18. I also think it's one of those skills that work best with Byleth equipped anyway, as he boosts luck by a lot when equipped. The 30% chance is better than nothing, but you're still chancing it every time, even with a decently high luck stat. Dual Assist. I am mentioning Dual Assist because I feel I would get the inevitable "where is Dual Assist" comment if I didn't mention it somewhere. Dual Assist is a 1000 SP skill from Lucina that allows backups to chain attack if they could reach an enemy by moving anyway. Base Dual Assist has a 35% trigger rate. While its plus variant has much more reliability at 70%, there's a couple of things that in my opinion hold it back from being a must-have at this time. In number one, in its base form, you're spending 1000 SP for a 35% chance for something to go off. Number two, for its more reliable but not guaranteed 70% rate, it's a total investment of 2000 SP. This is pretty costly for your base units, and is something that later recruited units can more easily access due to having their base SP being higher. Number three, it's pretty restrictive in that only one class type can use it. Backups. I'm not saying Dual Assist is bad by any means. Skills like these can be extremely useful against bulky bosses in maddening mode, and heroes were basically born to use this skill, as Brave Assist can effectively let them trigger Dual Assist Plus's 70% chance twice. And even with just 2 backup types with this skill combination, it's a good amount of chip damage every time. It's again, just really expensive. DLC skills. Lifesphere, Geosphere, and Lineage are all very strong and cost-effective skills, but they're being placed in honorable mention because not only do they cost SP, but they also cost actual real dollars to get. It goes without saying that these passive stat boosting or free HP or free EXP skills are very, very good. The purpose of this guide was to help people understand the process of skill inheritance and understanding the value of what these skills provide. There are many other skills that one may consider worthy of being on this list in a strongly consider or honorable mention category, and technically each skill that is inheritable period does have a use somewhere. And because of that, this list isn't the be-all end-all of inheritable skills, but hopefully it helps suss out the most cost-effective and cheap ones to look out for. If you think you have a suggestion to contribute to the conversation, please don't hesitate to comment down below. In addition, if you found this guide helpful, please consider liking, as it does help boost this video in search ratings, which will allow for more people to benefit from. This channel is getting into the technical and story side of Engage, so if you like this content and you want to see more of it, please consider subscribing. That's all for now. Deuces.